Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wisdom of Friends podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. This is a podcast where you get to learn more about your friends and community, their wisdom, their trials and tribulations, timeless insights, and their secrets. Now, let's get into the show. Please welcome your host, Cal Arras.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 10 of Wisdom of Friends talk show. I'm your host, Cal Arras. And today I'm really delighted and excited to be introducing you to a very special friend of mine. His name is John Gonzalez. Now, John was born and raised in Washington State and currently is a partner and owner at Deloitte Consulting Company, which is the largest professional services firm in the globe. He works with tech and life sciences companies, including startups, in both an audit and advisory capacity. He especially loves working with startups, including helping them through the initial public offering process. He leads their recruiting process and works on creating an inclusive culture in Seattle for the Audit and Assurance practice. John is passionate about children, especially in education and sports. He serves as a treasurer at the Brightwater Waldorf School, which is focused on cultivating creative minds, capable hands, and compassionate hearts. In his spare time, he coaches children's baseball teams. At work and in his personal life, John is committed to leadership and personal development, connection, and contribution. He loves spending time outdoors and traveling, and he's been married to Kim and is a father of 3 young, energetic boys, Julian, Quinn, and Dominic. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you will enjoy this conversation. We talk about family, we talk about coaching, we talk about leadership, and he shares some amazing insights that has helped him become successful in his life and his career. So without further ado, please help me welcome the one and only John Gonzalez. Good evening, John. Welcome to the Wisdom of Friends podcast. I'm really excited that you took some time to be on this show. And let me start off by saying my first impressions of you. The first time I met you was in Seattle a couple of years ago. It was at a leadership workshop. And what stood out for me was just your calm demeanor and your communication skills. Because when you stood up and shared about your experience from this program, because you had already done the program before, we could literally see the pin drop silence in the audience because people were mesmerized by your sharing. And you were very enrolling, and we were all looking forward to the program because of your sharing. So I just wanted to say that was my first impression of you, and I could totally at that point had made up my mind that you are a powerful leader in the community. And when I was looking at inviting guests on the show, you were the first person that came to mind. And so we finally made plans to have you on the show. So I'm really excited to get you on the show. So one of the first things, John, that we like to start off our interview is by asking our guest is what's your favorite quote or philosophy that you live by, and how have you applied it to your life?
So it's a Napoleon Hill quote. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. The last, 10 years, in my career have been, the growth that I've had has been phenomenal, and same with the people around me. And it was about 7 years ago. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my career, and I made a decision that I wanted to be a partner at my firm, one of the leading professional services firm in the world. And from that moment, I made the decision that I could actually be a partner, and that really just set me on a different path. Decisions came easier. My view on life, my excitement for my work totally changed. And ever since then, I put myself on that path and didn't look back and didn't give up. And 3 years ago, roughly about this time, I was admitted to the firm's partnership and became a partner, became an owner of the firm.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's excellent. So what I'm curious about, John, is your journey up until this point. So what did your parents do, and how did that shape your life growing up?
Yeah, so my parents, so they were, married in the 1970s. They were one of the, very first in the area of a mixed race. So my dad's Mexican and my mom's white, Caucasian. They started their own business. My dad ran a grocery store initially, and my mom we started having kids. My 2 older sisters, they didn't go to college or finish college. So they started a business. So they were actually a franchise owner of a 7-Eleven for a number of years. And my parents have owned the 7-Eleven. I've operated farms. And now they own a fast food sit-down restaurant in Eastern Washington. And kind of my early childhood growing up was learning really the value of work. I went to 7-Eleven every day, learned how to work on a cash register from a very young age. Help my parents anyway in every way around the store, and that happened from the age of 5 all the way up until I went off to college.
That's so great. And were you involved in any kind of sports at all growing up? Were there any specific sports that you like to play? Or
yeah, I love playing baseball. Love coaching baseball. I grew up in a small town. I did every sport you can imagine. I played football. I played basketball. I wrestled. I was on the swim team for a number of years, and then played lots of baseball all the way up until the time that I went to college.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm looking at your bio that you like coaching children's baseball teams.
Yep.
Tell us about that experience. How did that start, and what is it about coaching that you find fulfilling?
Yeah, so it was last summer. So the background is my wife actually is a former pro softball player.
Yes, indeed.
And a college softball coach. So she, always this view that she's the coach in the family, and I'm the dad, and I just go and support my kids, and when they want to go to the field, I help them. One of my sons made his all-star team last year, and it just happened that I was one of the dads that knew a lot about baseball, and they needed someone to help out, and so I did. And I always had a fear about coaching for some odd reason, specifically baseball. I don't know what it was, but I got over that, and since last summer I coached their all-star team. We won our regional tournament, which was phenomenal for the kids.
Congratulations.
And what I really that tournament was. We normally all of our tournaments are coach pitch, so the kids get used to the throwing of the coach. For the regional tournament, they had to move into using a machine, which it comes a lot faster, and the kids actually have to have more skill with hitting. And so that's really what I really valued in seeing, teaching them how to quickly increase their bat speed, being able to hit the ball a lot faster in a short period of time. Over a weekend, we trained them in live play how to hit this, pitching machine, which was coming a lot faster. And so seeing them just have success, and, seeing kids that, they had failures overcome and seeing the success, and then ultimately winning that tournament where everyone was hitting, which was pretty phenomenal.
Oh, I'm sure it's and congratulations on your son making the All-Star team. That's fantastic. So growing up, John, were there any mentors or celebrities that you looked up to, or that you wanted to emulate, or that inspired you, or you modeled yourself after? And if so, who were they?
I would say Ken Griffey Jr. was like, my favorite celebrity sports player. I mean, he was just phenomenal, naturally gifted, and I naturally was, gravitated towards that. But realistically, my biggest mentor was my dad and my mom. Being able to, to see the value of hard work, the value of relationships, and what that, to make a living, not the traditional way in a small town. So you really get to see, what it is, that really people are challenged with in life. And I saw right away that, the value of hard work, and I learned at an early age, what that really meant, and still something that today that I still, I value that when I'm evaluating recruits, or I'm evaluating team members, and, the willingness to work hard and work for something is high on my priority list in many cases.
Absolutely. Hard work is essentially one of the key traits of any professional or any individual who wants to have any amount of success. The other thing that I'm also curious about, John, is that with every successful people that I've talked to, they've encountered some kind of challenges or adversities. And they look at adversities and failures in a different way. They use that as a stepping stone to move on to something bigger or even more higher. So what were one or two biggest challenges that you faced in your life, and how did you overcome those? And the second part of the question is, what lessons did you learn from them that you helped you navigate going forward?
Yeah, so the first, I'd say my first real challenge was after my freshman year of college. I went to Seattle University, had a fairly substantial scholarship, and my freshman year I didn't focus on academics, and got off to a very rough start, and I was on academic probation and had to perform. And my parents, we can't afford to send you there if you don't have your scholarship. So there was, pressure, and, there was, I felt like a failure of not being able to, get the minimum grade point average when I'd had in the past. So, I mean, really what I really learned there is, prioritization, prioritization and focus, and, what was important in the long run. Getting good grades was, more important than, at the time than, going out every night and hanging out with the buddies, or going and playing video games, or, constantly, focusing on things that normal, college kids. And I learned that I had to be a little bit different and put more focus on it. And really, have that prioritization. So that's one. I'd say two, during my career, one of the things for my career, I get evaluated, I get inspected, and my work wasn't up to par. It wasn't what it was supposed to be, and I had to really look at myself in the mirror and said, what are my blind spots, as it has related to my work that I was doing, and I was moving too quickly through it. I wasn't putting the attention, the detail that needed, and also collaborating with the right people to get my work to be complete and accurate. There's a couple things, challenges that I've had in my career.
Got it. And so what I'm hearing you share, John, are specific traits that every leader acquires during the course of his life. And the through line, if I look at your sharing up until now, right from the childhood up until what you are doing in the Fortune 500 world, if you will, is hard work rates way up there for you. And the second thing also is priorities, knowing what to focus on, and the importance of teamwork and collaboration and leadership is also something that I can deduce from your sharing is what's important to you. So what I'm curious about, John, is having been through this ebb and flow of life, as we like to call it, what's your definition of success, and how would you define greatness?
Yeah, so my definition for success is, it's individualized. I like to not compare, me to a competitor or me to someone else or you to someone else. It's, what do I define as success for myself? I think, there's always do I put the bar high enough? Or, my view is you need to have lofty goals, and there may be multiple goals inside of a big goal, and really obtaining that big goal is really what success is ultimately defined at. But I think inside of that overall success can be greatness in individual task or individual goals that you have. If you have 8 things you need to do it great. Do it the way that it's supposed to be done. Don't leave anything out. Put everything in and give it your all. That's really what it comes down to. For me.
Yes, and how would you define greatness?
Again, I think it's individualized, and I think it's the way that someone goes about doing something, right? If it's do it to its fullest,
right.
Right. If you ask me to get a cup of water, you ask how do you want it? Is there ice in it? And, what temperature? All of those types of things, even though it's just a glass of water, it's a great glass of water.
Yes.
And it's in everything that you do. So I just don't think it's, this big, it doesn't have to be this massive thing that you're, to say you're great. It can be individualized. It can be, in everything that you do.
That is so inspiring, John. Thank you for sharing that. And I think what I'm gathering from this particular sharing is that greatness is individualized, but at the same time, do your best no matter how small the task is. And nothing is so trivial that you take your attention away from it. And so, no, that's very inspiring. So what are some of the things, and I want to get to coaching. I know coaching is a passion of yours at work as well as in the community. And you've coached me as well as part of my nonprofit global contribution initiative projects that we've done in the past. And I want to get to that in a bit here. But I would like to also find out some of your hobbies and interests that you like to do on your spare time. And what are those?
I have 3 kids, so I have 3 young boys, and you probably see that in my bio. I have a 10, 8, and 5-year-old. They're very active, very energetic, and they love dad being around. So I devote a lot of my time, my extra free time to them. It's, they're all different. My 2 older boys like to spend time with me, on a baseball field, watching a baseball game, watching a basketball game, doing random facts about the Mariners or the Supersonics or whatever it is. My younger son loves to be outside, loves to take on projects. And so there's lots of things with him that I like to do. My wife and I love to travel. That's really something that we take on every year. We have this, we call it our adult vacation. And created it out of a program I was in that, my wife and I needed our time together, for ourselves, for a week. We go every, once or twice a year. We actually have expanded it now to once or twice where we get to
Nice.
go, get to go by ourselves and have, adult time. My mom watches a kid. We don't leave them home by themselves.
That's great. Now, I know, didn't you just recently come back from Japan? And what was that trip like?
Yeah, Japan was phenomenal. It was a trip that was 3 years in the making. My wife is half Japanese, or a quarter Japanese, excuse me, and her grandma is from Japan, born and raised, came over in the 50s with a military man. My mother-in-law was born shortly after they moved. So we got to go back. She was born and raised in Kyoto, so we got to go and see, where she was from. We went to a World UNESCO or a UNESCO World Heritage Site where her great-grandparents were buried. Got to have a traditional Japanese ceremony, and then we moseyed on over to this Japanese garden that is attached to it, to this shrine. And her grandfather was the architect of the tea house in this garden. So we got to see his original drawings and really got to spend time where her family, was from. It was really, really moving. Food was great. It was very good to see, that my fam, or that Kim's parents and her aunt and her siblings got to see where their family came from. That's so great.
Just listening you share that has inspired me to take a trip to Japan, because that's one of the things I personally like to do, is to take one international trip a year. As you know, I just got back from Spain, and I've been raving about my trip to Spain. It's another one of those fantastic destinations that I highly recommend. So switching gears, John, this is where we try to address some of the questions that we get from our audiences, and this is related to the coaching aspect of your life. So in your opinion, and having coached so many individuals and kids and employees at work, and so what do you think stops people from achieving their full potential?
I'd say a few things. I think, in my Napoleon Hill quote is, whatever you believe you can achieve. I think there's fear in that statement. And a lot of times people, one, don't know what they actually want to achieve and what they want. So there's a, consciousness around, okay, what are my goals? Who do I want to impact? What do I want to achieve in life? What do I want to achieve with my family? What do I want to achieve with my children? Those types of things. Like, what do I actually want to get out of my life? So that's one. And then there's also a lot of fear in that, not believing they can achieve, their goals. And then three, I think it's not having the necessary support structure that you need in order to, to achieve a big goal. I think, one thing I've learned from my family is family is important. And family all looks different for everyone, but, I have my work family and I have my friends' family, and really it's that group that, can help you achieve what you want.
Oh, that's so great. Having clarity of purpose and having a support structure, and as we all very well know, having a coach definitely helps you identify your blind spots. That definitely makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
So have you noticed any difference in your coaching style when it comes to employees as well as versus younger kids? Or is it the same? Or what's been your experience? Or how would you say that differs from work to social lives? And
yeah, I think everyone's different, right? I've talked about being individualized, and coaching has to be individualized. And there are some that need tough love, and you can just shoot it to them straight. And there's others that you need to have that journey. And some it's maybe baby steps. And some you just tell them what they need to go do, and they go out and do it. And they're motivated self-starters. So there isn't, there isn't a one size fits all, and it depends. And it really comes down to getting to like know them, getting to, really connect with them and what's important to them. I had one of the coaches I've worked with, and he's, John, when you're stuck on something, when you get fixated on the negative, how do I bring you out? What's the thing? If what motivates you? What drives you? For me, it's family. Hey, is this in line with how you want to be a parent or how you want your kids to see you? And it's, well, no, it's not. I get pulled out from it, from that negative thinking or, whatever it is, or being stuck in a rut and can't see my way out of it. That's how I get pulled out. And so it's really sitting down and working with, mentees, coachees around what's that thing that's going to bring you back? What's the thing that's going to drive you to, want to achieve something,
and refocus what the real goals are and priorities. And one of the things, John, I must mention here is that having worked with you in the past, that one trait I've noticed about you is that you use the approach of Socratic questioning and training. And for those of our audience, it's not telling the individual what to do, but asking them questions that they have their own internal realizations as to what's missing. And that's something that I've noticed that you do quite often. And that's something I admire as a quality that you have. Because oftentimes we get pulled into telling someone what to do so that they can go ahead and do it. But I think in your case, you also allowed them to learn from that experience and figure out a way to own that experience as well going forward. So just wanted to mention that. One of the things, John, so I'm also curious about is I know you are a powerful leader in the community, and you lead one of the top, work at the top consulting companies in the globe, Deloitte Consulting. So have there any books or seminars or workshops that you would recommend that has helped shape you and your thinking?
I love books. One that has helped shape me is 4 Agreements. That's one book. I'd say Think and Grow Rich is another one. I use the Napoleon Hill quote. I really like that. I think it's David Schwartz. Think Big. I can't remember the exact title, but I think it's something around dream big, think big. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, a lot of things, but The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale is another one that's quick, 30 minutes. Very practicable. I'm very simplistic in some regards, and that podcast is 30 minutes. It's very simple. It gives you 10 things to focus on that you can focus on every day, and it takes 30 days to focus on it.
No, that's so great. Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. It's one of my favorites as well. And we'll include all these in the show notes for the benefit of our audience. One question, John, and we're going to take a walk down the memory lane here.
Okay.
And a hypothetical situation, let's say we had a time machine, if you could go back in time and talk to your young self, your 25-year-old self or a 20-year-old self, what advice would you give him?
It's something from Earl Nightingale that says, I think he talks about R&D, research and development, and it's really in yourself, right? That no company does not invest in themselves. And so that's one of the 10 things that he talks about. And really it's investing in yourself, reading books, that are going to grow you, attend seminars, self-help, motivational speaking, work on yourself. And it's not that you need to be changed. But if you want to achieve, greatness in your own life, you do sometimes need an expanded expansion of yourself and what you're really capable and what you can actually achieve. Because the part around, if you can get yourself to believe it, these workshops, are intended to help expand what you can actually believe, and actually gives you time to focus on, the things that really matter to you. And I didn't really start working on myself in the context of personal development, probably until my early 30s. So for, the last 6 or 7 years is kind of, intense hyper focus around, personal development.
I couldn't highly recommend personal development, because for me, that's been one of the biggest differences that's been as far as my successes are concerned. And it's like going back to the process of Kaizen, which is the Japanese methodology of continuous and never-ending improvement. Mm-hmm. And that's usually done in the manufacturing setting, but you could apply that same principle into your own life and constantly look at ways to, enhance your skill set or your relationship skills or gaining new experiences. And I couldn't agree more with you as far as constantly learning and growing and investing in yourself.
Yeah, I mean, to add, my view, is, I could be a good dad, go the way that I am and still be a good dad, but that wasn't what I wanted to be. That's not what I was committed to. I was committed to being a great dad. And so that, personal development, has helped me see blind spots that I have. And, when I, have a conversation with my son and I get upset, it helps me to see, to bring some context to it, to bring some life to why I'm upset about something or why I reacted the way that I have, even though I'm still a good dad. But I don't want to be good. I want to be great. And so that has helped me expand my ability to be a great dad.
No, that is so inspiring, and it's a lesson for all of us to use that as an example to constantly stretch ourselves to be our best, no matter what it is. And it goes back to the conversation we had earlier about bringing a glass of water. It doesn't matter what area of life it is. It may seem trivial, but really focusing on achieving greatness, and that's so great.
Yeah, just to add, Japan. One of the things I noticed that our entire family noticed that Kyoto is a big city. It's bigger in size than Seattle, but it is pristine.
Wow.
And we started talking to the cab drivers about why is that. And it's their job to have a clean car, as a cab driver, have a clean car, vacuum, clean it, and wash it every day. Which, in the U.S. that's not the standard. Yeah. But that's greatness in my mind.
Right.
You get into a cab that's from the 1970s and it still is pristine. That's
beautiful.
That's success. That's greatness.
That is indeed greatness, and it's like raising your standards, but also backing it up with rituals and making sure that you're living it day in and day out, and that's a perfect example of that. So, John, we're gonna switch gears, and this is the next section of our show, and it's called Rapid Fire Round. And in this section, I'm gonna ask you some quick questions, and you're gonna respond to it, whatever is the first thing that comes to your mind. Of course, you can elaborate on it if you feel like. But again, this is the rapid fire round. So, John, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So the first question for you, John, is what rock star has impressed you?
The Pearl Jam lead singer. Drawing a blank on his name. Be totally honest. Eddie Vedder. Eddie Vedder.
There we go. All right. So the second question I have for you is, whose brain would you like to pick?
Jesus.
The third question I have for you is, if you could be successful in another profession, what would you choose?
Professional baseball player?
Oh, wow. I like that. What color describes you best?
Royal blue.
A single most valuable thing you've learned in life?
Relationships are key.
If you could ask God one question, what would that be?
What was it like for you to give up your only son?
And the final rapid fire round question for you, John, is if you could have any message of your choice on a billboard, what would that be?
Message? It's a tough one. You are loved.
Oh, I like that. Love and kindness. That's beautiful. So this is moving on to our final section of our interview here. And the question I have for you, John, is what is your current personal passion project? And what are you looking forward to in the next 6 months to a year from now?
It's at work. I've been asked to build a service line in Seattle, a new service line. And it's... I think the first year was just go out and figure it out, and we did well, and just go out and win new work. It doesn't matter, we'll figure it out. And then now it's really, okay, we got to do it again, and it's really having the substance and structure, the integrity of that delivery and how we're going to go to market. So really, it's about putting structure into something that was fairly unstructured.
Yeah, got it. It's quite an exciting challenge to look forward to. What are 3 things you're grateful for in life today?
I'm grateful for the opportunities that I have, in life, at work, my family. I'm grateful for my parents. They're phenomenal people and have given me a lot. And then I'm really grateful for my wife. She's a stay-at-home mom and really provides me the freedom and the support to go out and be big and kind of be awesome at work and awesome in life.
That's so great. And yes, she is an inspiring leader for the community as well, as she leads seminars and workshops as well, and her own leader in her own right. So that's so great. So, John, I just want to acknowledge you before we wrap up our show here is for a couple of things. One, for being a generous human being, for giving your time to projects that make such a big difference in the community. Under your leadership, there are people out there in the community that I talk to often that have really enhanced their own leadership skills as a result. And then for being such a great dad and someone who invests in himself and constantly learns and grows and values family and relationships. I mean, that's such an inspiring role model that you are for the community, and it's such a privilege and an honor to know you as a friend and somebody that I admire. And I'm so appreciative of the fact that I've gotten to know you over the last few years, and it's really been an amazing ride. So thank you.
Thank you, Cal. This was awesome. I had a fun time. It was phenomenal, and I'm glad I can contribute to you and your friends, the community as a whole. And I really love what you're doing here with the podcast. I think there's a lot of valuable information from everyday human beings, which is cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And one final question, and this is how we wrap up our show, is why do you think people should listen to the Wisdom of Friends?
I think people should listen to Wisdom of Friends because it's down to earth. It's average people who want to do great things, that have great thoughts and have stuff to contribute or have things to contribute to everyone in the world.
That's so great. Again, John, thank you so much for your time and candid answers. I really appreciated our conversation. And with that, for those of us who are listening, we'll wrap it up. And if you liked what you heard, please share. Don't be shy.
Thanks for listening to the Wisdom of Friends show with Cal Arras. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, theglobalcontribution.com. To your friends and colleagues, be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous episodes. This has been a Seven Symphonies production. Join us next time for another edition of the Wisdom of Friends.